Real quick, the best way I can summarize who's actually at fault when it comes to the Republicans and Democrats in this situation is this. If the Republicans get the bill passed that they want to open the government, you get screwed out of your health care. If the Democrats get the bill they want passed to open the government, you get to keep a little bit of your health care. If nothing happens and the Republicans and Democrats cannot come to an agreement, millions of Americans get screwed out of their food aid benefits. Either way, with the Republicans, you get screwed. If you go with the Democrats, you get screwed a little less. It's pretty much how it's always been.
It is time to move the goalpost. It's time for not just Republicans, but for all Americans to stand up and say, we're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. Yes, we're in a soon-to-be record-setting government shutdown, and yes, it is actually hurting people now. But let's remember just how we got here. Earlier this year, the Republicans abandoned any semblance of bipartisanship or good government, ramming through Trump's big, ugly bill, cutting Medicaid, cutting Medicare, cutting health insurance subsidies, and even cutting food assistance, all while giving huge tax breaks to the very richest among us. The Republicans did that for Trump without the support of or even consultation with Democrats. They did it claiming they were being fiscally responsible, while in fact, they racked up the biggest single-year increase in the federal deficit ever. To date, all Democrats have demanded to reopen the government is restoring the cuts to the health insurance subsidies. And even that has been enough to throw Trump into a hissy fit tantrum in which he's been making threats. But no one's moving. And as a result, while some people aren't getting paid, others are about to go hungry. Others are about to lose health insurance, all while House Republicans remain on a fully paid vacation. So it's time for Democrats to do the one thing we can do, and that's to say it is no longer just health care. It's everything. To demand, as a price to reopen the government, repeal of each of the major cuts in Trump's Project 2025 spending plan, to demand restructuring of those tax cuts to make them fair, to eliminate Trump's ability to impose tariffs at will and to kill people without a trial, to end the terrorism of militarized masked men rampaging through American cities, to stop Trump's billion-dollar ballroom, to put no kings into law. If Republicans want to play games with the basic fabric of this nation, let's not sit back, let's lean in. And let the Republicans try to defend what's happened since they abandoned their own principles and turned the nation over to their geriatric, erratic would-be king.
Check out this headline. Some evangelicals are, quote, quietly quitting Trump and MAGA. Well, that would be nice if it were true. Let me read a little of this. Evangelicals and Catholics uneasy with President Trump's rhetoric and immigration policies are subtly distancing themselves from MAGA and taking some congregation members with them. Some churches are seeing a quiet quitting trend as pastors avoid political sermons and help members disengage from Trump's movement without ostracizing family members who might still be MAGA devotees. Honestly, how fucking stupid at this point do you have to be still be all aboard the Trump train? Good God. Quote, we've gotten more testimonials. I'm starting now to see leaving MAGA signs popping up on billboards, overpasses, and at No Kings protests, said Rich Logis, a Catholic ex-Trump supporter who founded a group called Leaving MAGA. Now that's a group I could get behind.
Every last person in Congress is rich. They all filthy, stinking rich. The question is, just how rich are they? Some not as rich as others, but there are some that have been involved in so much insider trading that they are worth well over $200 million. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, that part. But I digress. Some have morals and some don't. But I believe each and every one of them hands is kind of dirty. A lot of self-righteousness going on. You know what I'm saying? Now I have to put it out there. I just believe the elephants in the room are a little less demonic than the donkeys in the room, okay? I got a little bit more grace for them elephants than them donkeys. That's why I independently think for myself. And I pray that God's kingdom come to earth as it is in heaven. Because I believe a lot of them started off right and they still want to do right, but they have so much pressure on them that sometimes it's hard. So I pray for them. I cover them under the shed blood of Jesus Christ and pray their heart be pricked and they do what's right or be removed. Because we are sick of it as the American people. We sick of it. And we see y'all. I believe Congress still getting paid. That's part. Y'all shouldn't get paid either. Let's put that to vote. This is the reason why Congress should have term limits. They should not be able to have a hammock, kind of like them SNAP benefits where people got a hammock, but they should have a springboard. Spring your behind in Congress and spring your behind right on out of Congress after you did what you said you was going to do for the American people, and then use your voice to help put somebody else in there. It should be a revolving door, not a bank vault where only you have the key to unlock the door. That part. A lot of these people are upset because Trump came in, already had money, didn't need nobody's money, not even taking a presidential salary. Or if he is taking it, he's donating it back. But we know he's not keeping it, that part. A lot of these people are upset because Trump is messing with their spending money. These people are used to robbing us blind. And we just sit back, oh, hey, girl. Oh, my God, that's my favorite politician. I don't trust none of them. None of them. I pray for them. My prayer has been, God, remove each and every dirty criminal in Congress. Expose, expose, expose. Let this be a year of exposure on Capitol Hill. I don't care who it is, whether it's a donkey, hee-haw, or an elephant. It doesn't matter to me. Expose them. Expose every crooked dealing. Sometimes I believe some of them elephants in the bed with them donkeys trying to take our president out. And I ain't talking about out for dinner. Drain the freaking swamp. Evil is as evil does. That part.
Republicans in Congress are the most spineless group of cowards who have ever walked the face of the earth. The phrase, every accusation is a confession, has never been more true for a group of individuals ever. Republicans have been able to carve out this perfect system of deflecting from anything Trump has ever done. And you're probably familiar with it. They go, he didn't do that, to if he did do that, it's not that bad, and if it is that bad, Democrats did it first. And in order to justify all the unhinged actions that Trump takes, they have to make up lies about what Democrats do. In fact, it's okay in their minds that members of the Trump administration, including Trump himself, make posts calling Democrats the party of Satan, saying that we're basically domestic terrorists. And to justify this, they'll point back to some random speech that Biden made one day, where he said it's an issue that MAGA Republicans don't even believe the results of the 2020 election, and goes out of his way to say, hey guys, it's not all Republicans, just the MAGA Republicans that are crazy. But Biden said something divisive in front of a scary red backdrop, so now it's okay that Trump is arresting his political opposition. And they'll say it's okay that Trump is threatening media companies for posting stuff that he doesn't like, and even canceling shows who disagree with them and call him out for his bullshit. And they'll say, what about the Twitter files? Get owned, libtard. Yeah, a Twitter story with Hunter Biden's nude getting censored for less than 24 hours with literally no government involvement whatsoever is definitely the same as Trump suing his political opposition. And they'll dismiss Trump's blatant open corruption, like him and his family doing a crypto rug pull scheme that cost his followers billions of dollars, all while enriching themselves and their closest allies, as well as members of Trump's family, including Trump himself, taking bribes from foreign governments. And they'll say, what about Hunter Biden though, huh? What about Burisma? Where years of investigation was had and nothing came of it whatsoever? Yeah, that's exactly the same. And if there's anything they have to defend that they can't even lie about Democrats doing, they'll just say, oh, I've never heard of that before. It's the perfect Uno reverse card for them. Oh, members of my party did something super illegal and corrupt? Oh, I'm not aware of that. I'll have to get back to you on that one. But now we've gotten to the point that they're doing things that are so unhinged that they've had to come up with new excuses for. Now it's not that Democrats have done it in the past, it's that they have to do it because Democrats are going to do it in the future. I need you to understand that there is nothing that these people will not defend. In fact, if we're all marching into camps 2 years from now, they're going to sit there and say, none of this would have happened if Hillary Clinton didn't call us a basket of deplorables. With Republicans, every accusation is a confession. Don't believe their lies.
The Senate nuclear option, let's talk about it. I made a video about this and I got some interesting comments, so I want to talk about it. First of all, the nuclear option has been an option since the 1800s, and it has been used twice. Once by Democrats in 2013 and once by Republicans in 2017. Both were used in regard to nominations. This is very different. We don't all have to agree, but hear me out. I truly believe that Republicans have, in good faith, tried to negotiate with the Democrats, but the Democrats are at stalemate and they are not going to budge unless it's illegal health care and it's the USAID funding that is going for transgenderism and crap in other countries. And I have watched Senate floor debates and I know the arguments. They have publicly made comments saying that they know that families are going to suffer, but that this is a leverage that they have and they're going to use it. They're already playing the game. You have to remember that Republicans aren't asking for anything. It's the Democrats that are pushing for non-American things. So how long are we going to let it go on? No, I am personally not okay with kids suffering and not having food because they're playing a frickin' game. Yes, I know that there are people on it that shouldn't be on it, but per the big beautiful bill starting in November of 2025, all of those new regulations that they put in that are going to go into effect, so it will naturally weed people out. Also, Congress has so many other things to be doing, and right now, while Republicans have power, I would really like them to be able to get back to work and start working on the things that need to get done while they have the majority. This is absolutely part of the Democrat plan. Every day that they prolong this is one day less that Republicans are in power and can get stuff done. Do a nuclear option, get back to work. There is plenty to get done. That's my stance. I stand by it. Honestly, I lived during Hurricane Sandy. I have seen how people react and what they do when they lose availability to resources. I have personally witnessed it. People go to great extent to do crazy things. Democrats love chaos. They want this more than anything, and they will do it on the backs of families that need these resources. It's disgusting.
I've heard many say, and I agree, President Donald Trump could cure cancer and Democrats would still find a way to criticize him. Let me take it a step further. Let's say President Donald Trump today announced that he was pulling back all of the deportations, pulling back immigrations and customs enforcement agents out of the cities across the country, and adopting the former policies of President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on our southern border. You would immediately hear Democrats say, "Taco, Trump always chickens out." And within a week, I guarantee you would hear the liberal commentators on the legacy media saying that Trump has turned his back on his MAGA base and he's turned his back on protecting the sovereignty of the country. There was a time when Democrats used to somewhat successfully use the analogy that President Donald Trump could walk down the street in New York City, shoot somebody in the head, and his base of supporters, MAGA, would still go and support him. Now, you and I both know that that's simply not true. If President Donald Trump does something that I don't agree with, and there's been plenty of things that he's done that I don't agree with, even though I absolutely support his agenda, and I voted for him 3 times, I've called it out on my show because I'm a rational voter. That being said, when you go and recognize that what they were doing in the past, making that analogy, was pure gaslighting, because that's what they do. They have no other play other than complete opposition to Donald Trump, regardless of if it even aligns with Democrat policies, narratives, and ideologies. You see, once you realize that, you also realize that every single argument Democrats put forward, it gets reduced to ash. And that's what you'll see this weekend with these No Kings protests. Once you realize that, it actually makes following politics a heck of a lot easier.
This cannot be a surprise to you, can it? Trump supporters, Trump voters are regretting their vote. NBC did an interview with a woman who's 63 years old, who's the caretaker of her 26-year-old daughter, who relies on SNAP benefits. I don't know exactly what the girl's issue is, but she relies on these SNAP benefits just to survive, day-to-day survival. She's the 63-year-old woman sitting back and saying, well, why are they doing this with the ballroom? There's $350 million being spent there, and it's supposed to be private donations, which obviously it's not, because Trump came out last week and said, well, the military is heavily involved. That's your tax dollars. That's my tax dollars. Don't tell me that's being privately funded when the military's involved. Well, this woman's starting to wonder why in the world these people are donating all this money to this ballroom that only a handful of people are ever going to be able to use, when you got people across the country waiting for their SNAP benefits to be paid out. Now, there's a judge that came out and said you have to pay out these SNAP benefits. Didn't say when it had to be done. He said it had to be done expeditiously. Okay, well, all right, when is expeditious? A week? 3 weeks? I mean, the day before Thanksgiving? How's that going to work out? No one's ever come out and said you have to do it and you have to do it by such and such a time. It has to be done expeditiously. And what's Trump doing? Said he's going to go ahead and do it, but they don't have enough money because it costs $8 to $9 billion a month for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP benefits, EBT cards, whatever it is you want to call it in your state. Well, he's got to be able to come up with the money somewhere. The judge ordered, hey, you came up with the money to pay ICE. You came up with the money to pay the military. Come up with the money to pay the SNAP program. And you know what? He hasn't come up with a plan yet. They're all still sitting back there wringing their hands going, well, I wonder when we have to do it, if we have to do it at all. I hope you get your benefits if you're a SNAP recipient, but don't be surprised if you don't.
Trump just punished grocery stores for helping hungry families. Some grocery stores were doing the right thing, giving a few dollars off for families using SNAP. Just small discounts meant to help people stretch their benefits when everything costs more than it did last month. But now Trump's USDA has warned those stores that if they keep offering those discounts, they could lose their right to accept SNAP entirely. And guess what's happening? Some stores are already pulling those discounts back out of fear. Think about that. The government isn't angry at corporations raising prices. They're angry at stores trying to make food cheaper. They're not protecting fairness. They're protecting control. They're calling it the equal treatment rule. But equality isn't when rich and poor both have the right to pay full price. It's when the poor actually have a fair shot to eat. Over 40 million rely on SNAP just to survive. And Trump's administration is now threatening a few stores that actually care enough to help. And that's not leadership. That's cruelty disguised as policy. If you care about this, share it, because silence is exactly what they're counting on.
I've been telling you guys this was coming, and now it's happening. Right now, this week, the conversation has changed. It started when Donald Trump started talking about a third term again, which, by the way, I am appalled at how many on the left took the bait. Because Trump throws out the absolutely rancid trash idea of a third term when he finds himself needing either a distraction from a failure or from a reality unfolding that he simply cannot allow to be true. So when the left immediately takes his bait and starts panicking about a third term, we are doing his work for him when instead we need to be looking in the exact opposite direction. Because that's where the thing is from which he is trying to distract us. So what's the thing? Is it because he's trying to hide from the crushing increases in healthcare costs? Is it because he's running away from the peace deal that is neither peace nor a deal? Is he trying to change the subject from the fact that everybody thinks he sucks and polls show everybody blames him for the shutdown? No, it is not. It is this. Next week, the Supreme Court is going to hear opening arguments that will decide whether or not he has the power to unilaterally impose unregulated, unlimited, indefinite tariffs on our trading partners. And as they hear those arguments, the Supreme Court is going to have to decide whether they apply the major questions doctrine, which would by default require them to side against Trump. Because in a sentence, the doctrine says that the executive branch cannot assume authority to make decisions that have vast economic or political significance without explicit authorization from Congress. And since the emergency power he's using to claim authority to impose tariffs says nothing about taxes, tariffs, or duties, there is absolutely no logical way that the tariffs he's imposed through this emergency power, which is about 2/3 of his tariffs, could survive the application of the major questions doctrine. But we know the Supreme Court is willing to lie down for Trump. So the question then becomes, will they? That is going to depend on the signals they get from Congress, which is why as Trump again floated the idea of a 2028 term, J.D. Vance actually went to the Senate to try to convince Republican senators to vote against 3 consecutive bills that seek to restrict Trump's tariffs on Brazil, Canada, and the rest of the world. Now, before you say the Senate Republicans would never turn on Trump, remember they already did. They already voted once back in April to cancel his tariffs on Canada. Of course, Mike Johnson wouldn't allow that vote to take place in the House, and Trump would certainly veto it if it got to his desk. While these Senate bills are purely symbolic, symbols like the Republican Senate specifically saying, no, you do not have permission to impose tariffs, would be impossible for the Supreme Court to ignore. Which is why Trump both sent J.D. Vance to speak to senators and also why he floated the 2028 threat. Because when you look at this chart of search trends, you can see that basically no one is searching for Vance 2028. Meaning if Trump wants to force these Republicans in Congress to continue to do his bidding, he has to once again resurface the old threat that if they go against him, they won't be able to ride on his coattails again in the future. And wouldn't you know it, they voted against the Brazilian tariffs this week anyway, because the Republicans in the Senate are starting to realize what Marjorie Taylor Greene already understands. When it comes to election cycles, we already live in a post-Trump world. The faster the rest of us get on board with this reality, the faster the Trump agenda becomes thinner than the purple skin on the back of his hand.
Trump is getting rid of the filibuster, and it has just destroyed the Democrats' leverage. The government will reopen, SNAP benefits will go out, everyone will get their paychecks, and the Democrats will be sitting in the wind. The filibuster is what requires 60 votes for any resolution to pass in Congress. And even though Republicans have the trifecta, they still only have about 53 votes. That gives the majority, but not control like the Democrats say. But now that Trump is going for the nuclear option, because the Democrats keep dragging their feet to the point of holding Americans hostage and depriving them of benefits, he's going to get rid of the filibuster, which will make it only necessary for 51 votes. That means that Democrats in Congress can basically just go home. For the next 4 years, just take a vacation, because Republicans have 53 votes in the House, which means every single thing that Senate and Congress wants to pass that's on the Republican initiative will now pass without any restrictions, because the Democrats overplayed their hand, held Americans hostages, and Trump is once again coming to the rescue. No, that's Schumer's.
This Republican Party, man, they're actually waging a war against the poor. And it's sponsored and financed by half the poor. Yeah, that's where we are. And Dems, this choice they have, they can either let Republicans raise healthcare to unprecedented levels or let them starve millions of people. Talk about a hopeless no-win situation. In this way, Trumpy and Fox can blame one of the two outcomes that will happen on the left. In a very disgusting way, it's a brilliant strategy, but it's our job to see right through it. Like and share if you agree. Thanks for listening.
I've never been in the business of predicting the future. I'm a historian. I like to tell you about stuff that happened in the past and maybe bring it up to like the present, but it's becoming so clear to me where we're at in the narrative of like the rise of an authoritarian American empire that I just feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Y'all, like the government shutdown is the coup. Like, it is the coup. I felt so crazy that I had to reach out to a history friend of mine. This is a U.S. history expert, someone whose opinion I very greatly trust. This is someone whose political leanings are actually like quite different from mine. And so I always want to like reach out to them to see like, am I crazy? Am I just like way off in the deep end? And this person was like, oh no, that seems like a really good take. Y'all, Trump has no intention of reopening the government. And like, yeah, at some point, I guess Congress will vote to reopen the government, but like Trump has nothing to gain from having Congress back in session. Right now, he's like a dictator. He can do whatever he wants. Federal spending is like shut down. He's kind of closed off the government. He can sort of do whatever he wants without oversight. Like he's been doing that anyway, but this is ideal for him. Our conversation continued, right? And this person was pointing out that with like the cutting of SNAP benefits and the Great Gatsby Halloween party, and even like the longer and longer that like TSA gets shut down, I'm seeing constant TikToks of just like the 4.5 hour lines for TSA at like Houston's airport, that sort of thing. He wants us to revolt. He wants us to respond in a way that will justify him invoking the Insurrection Act, which will be like the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. I was debating whether or not to post this. I was like, is this too like tinfoil conspiracy hat for my channel? I don't know. But then this popped up on my For You page. Representative Adam Smith saying like the government is not shut down. The government is dissolved. He's like, this is different. This is not a normal government shutdown. This is weird that it's shut down in this way and that there's really like no serious attempts to reopen it. Like the shutdown is the coup. So what do we do? I mean, number one, keep calling your Congress people. Like, I don't care. I don't care who your congressperson is. Mine's like Ted Cruz, for the love of God, right? Keep calling them. Keep flooding their offices, their emails, their phones, whatever, with like pleas to reopen the government and also to like reinstitute funding for a lot of these programs. But also, as you're protesting, as you're out and like doing your job in the community to like support your neighbors, that sort of thing, remain nonviolent, remain peaceful. Remember, like we're basically being baited. He is basically sitting back and just waiting for someone to react in a way that's going to give him the justification that he thinks he needs to kind of like keep his legitimacy in his circle and with the people he admires around the world, but still like using the military fully to suppress a rebellion within the country. So like, continue supporting your community, reach out to your Congress people, don't stop making noise, commit to nonviolent resistance.
And the breathtaking cruelty continues. This is so evil, it takes my breath away. Under Trump's direction, the USDA sent out emails to grocery stores and businesses across the nation, telling them that they cannot legally offer discounts to people who did not receive their SNAP benefits this month. You heard that right. They are not legally permitted to help the citizens of this country afford food. They literally emailed out warnings to these stores telling them that they are not to provide discounted food. Because several grocery stores and chains have said that they were going to provide discounts to people who did not receive their SNAP benefits, because we don't want to be surrounded by starving people. We have a moral duty to care for each other in this country. That is what a society is. If that's not what a society is, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be opting out. The email literally read, "You cannot treat SNAP customers differently from any other customer. Offering discounts or services only to SNAP customers is a SNAP violation unless you have a SNAP equal treatment waiver." And apparently SNAP's equal treatment rule basically just says that you have to treat SNAP customers exactly the same as other customers. You can't charge them more or less. Tell me again how this is a Christian country. I dare you.
I'm about to deliver a hard message that some people won't want to hear, but many resources won't help you until you've already drowned, until you're already homeless. And I say this from personal experience, and it's because of the sheer volume of people that need help these days. It's not because they don't want to. It's because resources are extremely limited. And I don't say this to discourage you. I say this to prepare you mentally that it is going to be a trial. If you are going through tough times right now, you are going to have to fight like your life depends on it, because it does. Get resourceful. A few years ago when I was facing eviction, I went down the list that 211 had given me, calling every single number, and no one could help. But you want to know what worked for me? I went to Google and I researched churches within my area, and I emailed every single church within a 50-mile radius of me. And I had help from three of them. I'm a practicing witch. And I received help from a Baptist church, a Catholic church, and a non-denominational Christian church. Do I feel bad about that? Not one bit. That is what churches are for. That is what temples are for. That is what mosques are for. It's for creating a sense of community and giving back to it and helping people that need it. So that's my tip to combat this, because these are scary times that we're heading into. Just don't give up, and don't let ego, don't let pride, don't let lack of creativity stop you from getting the help that you need.
The Conservative Party is dying, thanks to Donald Trump. But don't rest on your laurels, because the Democratic Party is about to undergo a huge change. Tuesday, I am positive Zohran Mamdani is going to be elected the mayor of New York City. This is going to set off a wave of politicians across the country that are like Bernie Sanders and Zohran coming forward and running for office. And we need this. The last couple of days, I've seen Barack Obama out stumping for a Virginia candidate for governor. Obama's great. I liked him in his time, but we're done. We're done with the old camp. Sorry, I did vote for Kamala, but not next time. We need AOCs. We need Jasmine Crockett's. We need tough people. We need Gavin Newsom. He's the only one, the absolute only one, who pushed back against Trump this whole past year, and he continues to do it, and I love him for it. And that's how we have to be moving forward. The conservative movement is just weak as hell, and we just can't sit back and just let the old guard continue on. No, I liked Hakeem Jeffries before, not so much anymore. Chuck Schumer, out. In 2026 midterms, we need to bring in a bunch of new toughies, people who pull their sleeves back and fight for us. And when the Republicans play dirty, jump right back in and play dirty right back. That's the name of the game moving forward. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Take advantage of the weakness of our opponents and come in with really strong people. Watch what happens Tuesday and think about what you're going to do for 2026 midterms.
So this typical MAGA talking point in comment threads of, well, you do realize that it's the Democrats that are keeping the government shut down. bitch, please. It's not the flex that you think it is, and it's really not the gotcha that you think it is. The Republicans can basically reopen the government anytime by one of two ways. They can negotiate, which typically happens when you have multi-party systems. You work with each other to try to make things work. Ideally, that's what you do. And that's the mark of leadership. Or you could eliminate the filibuster, which is probably the less ideal circumstance, the less ideal. But the Republicans really certainly can reopen the government at any time. And also, too, by throwing this talking point out there, you're basically admitting that the Republicans, with a trifecta majority, with a majority in the House, majority in the Senate, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court, cannot govern this country. Really not the flex that you think it is, guys.